Gallup poll taken in March of 2007 begged the question that what was your stance on the environment and its issues? 49% of Americans stated that they were sympathetic but not active, whereas 23% were neutral on the entire issue. I find this hard to believe that 313 million Americans cannot be more active in their environment in which they live, especially when 83% of those Americans claim to be Christians. As a father and as a minister, it's hard for me to grasp that, and it's almost appalling to me that the environment is such a backstory, is such a back of the mind thing to most people in America. When my daughter inherits the earth, what's going to be left? As we are put in charge of creation by our Creator, we need to have the mindset of why He created it and what He did it for. And we need to be in the forefront of that argument until the day that we move on. There are three ways that Christians can do this. One is to be good stewards of what the Lord has given us. I believe it's Wendell Berry that states the environmental basis of the Bible is inescapable. That God made the world because He wanted to make it, that He loved the world and all its inhabitants, and He didn't want to be separated from the world anymore. So He sent His Son to join that unity again. It says in Genesis 4 that God made man in His own image to rule over the fish of the sea and the birds of the air, to rule over the livestock and all the earth and everything in the earth that goes along the ground. As we look in and see the psalmist David also states that the earth is the Lord's and everything in it, the world and all who live in it, for He founded it on the seas and established it in the waters. Psalm 24, 1 through 2. Secondly, by honoring the Creator through preserving His creation, Christians will set the example for non-believers and support our testimonies to the masses. We see that time and time again, that we as Christians do not take that stand on a lot of issues that involves the world in which we live, and environment is the greatest one that we can kind of find common ground with non-believers as well. It says, since the Creator of the world, His invisible attributes, which are His eternal power and His divine nature, have been clearly seen because they are understood through what has been made, so people are without excuse. Thirdly, the preservation and conservation of His creation will allow for future generations to inherit a world of value and allow Him to continue fulfilling His purposes on the earth. I believe it's Stephen Bowman who states that there is not always more, except for your energy from the income of the sun. The world is finite. Our life support systems may seem beyond abuse, but there are limits to what it can bear. Like it or not, we are finite creatures living in a finite world. So I think it's so important to realize that even though we are minuscule, that we play such a big part of the Lord in His creation. The American Society of International Law states that we should not limit our actions to those who are able to determine now as directly or indirectly benefiting ourselves or our descendants. Rather, we should cultivate our natural sense of obligation not to act wastefully or wantonly, even when we cannot calculate how such acts would make any present or future persons worse off. In conclusion, it's the three things we have to do: be good stewards of what the Lord's given us, to preserve and be of good character to the non-believers and to the ones who we can find common ground with, and thirdly, to leave an inheritance for our future generations, and that we can find that purpose that God has laid before us. So when we think about what the Lord has given to us here on the earth, we can think of it in one way, that we are finite creatures living in a finite world, but that the Lord has created us to be so much bigger in His one major creation. So even though we are minuscule and finite in our own minds, that we were made bigger because of the Lord Jesus Christ. Thank you.